3 months. Or maybe over there. It's just, Prabhupada called it the change disease. Everything is in constant state of flux. Namashreshtam manomapi sachiputram atra swarupam rupam tasya grajam uruparim maturim gostavatim radhakundam girivaram aho radhika madhavasam prapto yasya pratita kripaya shri gurum tam natosmi. Jai Gurudev. Reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Antya-lila, we're now on the Antya-lila. So you were reading yesterday, you got up to around verse 66.
65.
Rupa Goswami's meeting with the Lord. And of course this refers to Rupa Goswami's meeting with the Lord at Jagannath Puri. We already had Rupa Goswami's meeting with the Lord at Varanasi and Prayag. So this is Rupa Goswami's first journey to Jagannath Puri. And he is being introduced to all the devotees. He's being introduced to them by Mahaprabhu himself. So he's meeting all of Mahaprabhu's associates from Bengal and Orissa. So the Bengali devotees have arrived just before Rupa Goswami. We have the pastime of the kukura, the dog, that travelled with them. Met Mahaprabhu, ended up in Vaikuntha. And this is the section where Mahaprabhu is showing to his intimate associates the special status of Rupa Goswami as the figurehead of his sampradaya, as the person who will take Mahaprabhu's conception and codify it, produce literature which further elaborates the Bhakti rasa, essentially. The mallows, various tastes and flavors of devotion to Krishna. Rasa tattva. And in the course of this, Mahaprabhu, as we'll see, it might have been covered yesterday. Mahaprabhu, there's a couple of verses. No, I don't think it was covered yesterday. Good. There's a couple of famous verses that are featured here. One about the holy name, and one about the feelings of the gopis for Krishna that could not be expressed in the Aishwarya mood of Krishna, and so they're longing to have Krishna back in Vrindavan. The famous verse that Mahaprabhu was chanting in Rath Yatra. So there's two famous verses that are, maybe more, at least two that are featured here that we'll come across sometime later in the chapter. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gauda Bhakta Vrinda. What were we on? 65. So Rupa Goswami is staying at Haridas Thakur's place, right? Both Haridas Thakur and Rupa Goswami didn't go into the Jagannath temple. They didn't enter the Jagannath temple. Neither did Sanatana Goswami.
Why?
Because of their association with the Muslims. Haridas Thakur was indeed considered a Muslim by birth, whereas Rupa and Sanatan were Brahmins by birth, but they were employed in the Muslim government, so they are considered contaminated. So he stayed with Haridas, was staying separately. Haridas had a place given to him by Mahaprabhu where he could see the chakra on the temple steeple, at the top of the temple. Can be seen all around. But I believe these days not so much because of the construction and the buildings. But back in those times, the temple steeple could be seen. So Mahaprabhu gave Rupa Goswami a hut, kind of a little separate from his own quarters, but from where he could see the temple steeple, the chakra on the top of the temple while he was doing his Harinam Japa. And basically, Haridas Thakur would do a huge amount of Harinam Japa. 300,000 names per day. That's a lot. Do you know how many rounds that is?
192.
No, I think it's... Oh, it could be, yeah, actually. You could be right, yeah. 64 times 3. Is that 192? I think it is. 60 times 3, 180, yeah, 192. How did you get that figure? You've done 192 rounds yourself one day?
Of course. No, Tari told me that Haridas Thakur used to do 190 rounds.
Yeah. 300,000 names, that's a lot. So if 16 rounds take you 2 hours, 64 rounds would take you 8 hours, and 192 would take you 24 hours. So you have a little bit of... You don't have any spare time. So you'd have to chant a little faster, wouldn't you? So you'd have a little time to eat and sleep. But anyway, that was Haridas Thakur's life. And Mahaprabhu gave him a place where he could do that in peace, a little separate from the rest of the community, but where he could see the chakra on the top of the temple. And Rupa Goswami, when he comes, on this visit at least, he stays with Haridas Thakur. And Mahaprabhu every day is bringing Haridas Thakur prasad from the Jagannath temple, knowing that Haridas Thakur, out of his humility, likes to not only not enter the Jagannath temple, but stay a little separate, because he sees himself as in a condition not qualified to mingle closely in a familiar way with the rest of the devotee crowd. That's how he feels. So Mahaprabhu personally takes him prasad. And when Rupa Goswami is staying, he brings Jagannath prasad for both of them. And he visits them daily, as we'll see, as may have already been mentioned here. Yeah, he would talk for some time with them both, and then leave to perform his noontime duties. Ishta Goshti Dunha Sane Kari Kata Kshana Madhyana Karite Prabhu Karila Gamana. Ishta Goshti. They'd have a conversation, then Mahaprabhu would leave, bathe in the ocean. In this way, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's dealings with them continued every day. They received the transcendental favor of the Lord, and Srila Rupa Goswami felt unlimited pleasure. And then, after Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taking all his devotees with him, performed the Gundicha Marjana, cleaning the Gundicha temple, he went to the garden known as Aitota and accepted prasad, a picnic within the garden. When Haridas Thakur and Rupa Goswami saw that all the devotees were accepting prasad and chanting the holy name of Hari, they both were greatly pleased. When they received the remnants of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's prasad through Govinda, they respected it, and then they both began to dance in ecstasy. Aradina Prabhu Rupe Miliya Vasila Sarvagya Shiromani Prabhu Kahite Lagila. On the next day, when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to see Srila Rupa Goswami, the omniscient Lord spoke as follows. Krishna re bahira nahi kariha braja haite braja chare Krishna kabu nayana kahante. Do not try to take Krishna out of Vrindavan, for he does not go anywhere else at any time. So I presume you read the part where Rupa Goswami has a dream, and one of the Vaikuntha queens comes and tells him, write a drama about me.
Yes.
Yeah?
Satyabhama.
Satyabhama, okay. And so then, as a result of that, he writes two dramas. Instead of his initial idea of writing one, he divides it into two. And now this is further confirmed by Mahaprabhu, who says to him, Krishna, do not try to take Krishna out of Vrindavan. And so Rupa Goswami sees it as confirmation of the idea or instruction that he was given in the dream. Krishno nyo yadu sambuto ya purna satyata paraha vrindavanam parityajya svakvachinnaiva gashyati. The Krishna known as Yadu Kumar is Vasudeva Krishna. He is different from the Krishna who is the son of Nanda Maharaj. Yadu Kumar Krishna manifests his pastimes in the cities of Mathura and Dwarka. But Krishna, the son of Nanda Maharaj, never at any time leaves Vrindavan. Etakahi Mahaprabhu Madhyane Chalila Rupa Gosani Mane Kechu Vishmaya Haila. After saying this, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to perform his noontime duties, leaving Srila Rupa Goswami somewhat surprised. Pritak Natak Karite Satyabhama Agya-lila Janilu Pritak Nataka Karite Prabhu Agya Haila. Satyabhama ordered me to write two different dramas, Srila Rupa Goswami thought. Now I understand that this order has been confirmed by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Purve dui nataka chile ekatra rachana dui baga kare ebe kari mugatana. Formerly I wrote the two dramas as one composition. Now I shall divide it and describe the incidents in two separate works. Jai Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. Dui Nandi Prastavana Dui Samgatana Pritak Kariya Liki Kariya Bhavana. I shall write two separate invocations of good fortune and two different introductions. Let me think deeply about the matter and then describe two different sets of incidents. Ratayatraya Jagannatha Darshana Karila Rata Agre Prabhura Nritya Kirtana Dekila. During the Rath Yatra ceremony, Rupa Goswami saw Lord Jagannath. He also saw Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dancing and chanting in front of the Rath. So the Vaishnavas from Bengal, they would come down for the Rath Yatra festival, because, of course, they would see Mahaprabhu's ecstatic dancing. And they would stay until the end of Kartik. So they'd stay for 4 or 5 months. Rupa Goswami gets to see Lord Jagannath. Haridas Thakur gets to see Lord Jagannath. Sanatana Goswami gets to see Lord Jagannath only at Rath Yatra. That's the specialty of Rath Yatra. There is some gripe sometimes, I've heard from some devotees.
So what?
Some devotees sometimes have a gripe that, they will let various Hindus, any old Hindu into the Jagannath temple. He might be waltzing in, belly full of chicken curry, packet of cigarettes in his back pocket. No worries, brown skin, come on in. But, you've got this Western guy, freshly shaved, very neat tilak, dhoti, kurta. But I'm not allowed, I'm not allowed in. That guy's, I saw him smoking on a biddy round the back, now he's walking in. And me, I haven't smoked a cigarette in 15 years. So they will see it as discrimination based on the body. And they'll say, these people, these servitors of Jagannath, they're in the bodily concept of life. We don't get this in our mud because we have a slightly different, we have a more developed understanding of it. But in another big institution, they have such a conception. They won't let us in because they're in Maya. I remember I was in Vrindavan many, many years ago, when I was like 16 or something, and doing a course there at the Vrindavan Institute for Higher Education. I don't know if it's still operational. They used to run courses at Kartik time. And there was this one ISKCON Swami. Oh, I dropped a name. There's one Swami there giving a talk. And someone asked him, Maharaj, why don't they allow us into the Jagannath temple? And he's like, well, the short answer is that they're in Maya. They're all in Maya, you see. They won't let us in. But the deeper understanding is that the pastimes of the Lord, there's that saying, the Lord works in mysterious ways. And this definitely applies to the Jagannath temple. If you look at it a little more deeply and through the lens of humility, it's the core quality of Vaishnavas, that everything should be viewed through a perspective, through a lens of humility. You will see what's actually going on, rather than through a lens of egoic entitlement. Why am I not allowed in? I want to see Jagannath and you're not letting me in. I'm qualified and you're in Maya. Rather than the kind of arrogant, ego-based perspective, if one views it from a position of humility, then the real perspective will emerge. For starters, you may not be allowed in, but Haridas Thakur, the Namacharya, chose not to go in. He saw himself as unqualified. And you're qualified? That should immediately ring bells.
I've been chanting 16 rounds for 20 years.
Yeah, so, and we also see how those who tried to reform the customs of the Jagannath temple, such as Pundarik Vidyanidhi and Ramanujacharya, Vaishnavas of the top echelon, they themselves were rebuked by Jagannath. They were chastised by Jagannath for their attempts to intervene in the customs of the temple. So what to speak of someone that's just very recently been introduced to the spiritual concepts? And of course, one of the chief, you could say, foibles of beginning a process is that one thinks they're greater than they are. So one gets all quite excited about their level of spiritual accomplishment. And that's kind of natural. But these things have to be seen in the context. But another point is that the Rath Yatra then becomes very special for those who cannot enter the Jagannath temple. And if you deny yourself access to something, then when you do get exposed to it, the experience is more intense than it normally would be. So, absence makes the heart grow fonder. Those devotees who cannot enter the Jagannath temple then get a special experience, a special mercy. Rath Yatra holds special mercy for them, particularly for Gaudiya Vaishnavas, considering the unique and ecstatic pastimes of Mahaprabhu at Rath Yatra. So a more developed perspective is required when it comes to viewing this idea of access to the Jagannath temple. We can see it's actually initially, from a very raw perspective, it may seem to be discriminatory, or it may seem to be unfortunate that you cannot go into the temple. But from a deeper perspective, it's actually very fortunate. And it also touches on the Vipralambha concept, as just mentioned, that you may be denied access, but when that contact, when that vision does come, it's all the more special. It's all the more relishable. Ratha Yatra, already so special, becomes even more special. It's the development of perspective. Not that I was also reading a post where someone was saying that, really what we need to do is just start a massive, massive kirtan outside the gates of the Jagannath temple and just barge in. No one can stop us. Just a big, wild, high-energy kirtan. We'll just go in there, get darshan. That's not really the recommended mood. Certainly not the mood of Rupa Goswami, who is the Sampradaya Acharya. So if you consider yourself a Rupanuga, then such a policy would be highly ill-advised.
What did you say about Ramanuja? I never remember his name. Ramanuja and another high-level Vaishnava.
Pundarik Vidyanidhi.
They wanted to force their way?
No. No, they... Firstly, Ramanuja Acharya was under an instruction to improve standards of worship in various temples of Vishnu around India. And when he arrived in Jagannath Puri, he went to improve the standards of worship in the temple there. But Jagannath didn't approve of that. And so one night, he was essentially teleported 300 miles out of Jagannath Puri to Kormakshetra in the south. Physically transferred. So he woke up in the morning not knowing where he was. He had to ask around. They said, this is Kormakshetra. Why don't you know where you are? He said, I went to sleep in Jagannath Puri and I woke up in Kormakshetra. And he understood that Jagannath wasn't happy with his attempts at reformation. And then with Pundarik Vidyanidhi, during Mahaprabhu's time, so Pundarik Vidyanidhi is Radharani's father in Vrindavan Leela, known as Brishabhanu. And when he goes to Jagannath Puri, he sees that they're using new cloth that has been treated with a type of starch. And generally that is to cure the cloth, to improve its quality in some way. But before it's worn, it's washed. So the starch is generally washed out before its first usage. But the priests, known as the pandits in the temple, they weren't doing that. They were taking this fresh, new starched cloth and using it without washing it. And he had informed them that it was inappropriate. They had to change. They had to improve this practice. And that night, he had a dream, and Krishna and Balaram had come, and they were slapping his cheeks. And he woke up, and his cheeks were red and swollen. And again, the message being that what the servitors in the temple are doing, although it may seem to be externally improper, Jagannath is happy with that. Jagannath does not want that practice to change, to be so-called improved. So particularly in the Jagannath temple, we have a history of even the topmost devotees wanting to institute more minor improvements and being chastised by Jagannath himself. What to speak of a Westerner demanding access to the temple? You have to change your policy for me. So, anyway. So Rupa Goswami now is writing 2 separate dramas, and with each composition there is also a Mangalacharana, which is known as an auspicious invocation, and an introduction. So he's thinking he's going to write two of each now. 2 introductions, 2 dramas. Ratyatraya Jagannatha Darshana Karila Rata Agre Prabhura Nritya Kirtana Dekila. During the Rath Yatra ceremony, Rupa Goswami saw Lord Chaitanya, saw Lord Jagannath. He also saw Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dancing and chanting in front of the Rath. Prabhura Nritya Shloka Suni Sri Rupa Goswami Se slokarta lana shloka karila tatai. When Rupa Goswami heard a verse uttered by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu during the ceremony, he immediately composed another verse dealing with the same subject. So this verse is very famous, and it's first dealt with in the Antya-lila, in the chapter which describes Mahaprabhu's ecstatic dancing in the Rath Yatra. Once he returns from his tour of South India, meets all the devotees, then there are a couple of chapters that describe Mahaprabhu's kirtans, the Beda kirtans of Mahaprabhu, dancing in the Rath Yatra. So this verse is first given there, and it will be repeated here. Purve se sabakata karyache varnana tatapi kahiye kichu shangshepe katana. I have already described all these incidents, but I still wish to add briefly something more. So he says, I've already described these incidents in terms of the quoting of this sloka that is chanted by Mahaprabhu, and as said in the chapter of the Antya-lila, samanya eka shloka prabhu padena kirtane kine sloka pade iha keha nahi jane. Generally, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recited a verse while dancing and chanting before the Rat, but no one knew why he was reciting that particular verse. Sabe eka swarupa goshani slokera arta jane slokanu rupa pada prabhuke karana asvadane. Only Swarup Damodar Goswami knew the purpose for which the Lord recited that verse. According to the Lord's attitude, he used to quote other verses to enable the Lord to relish mallows. So Kaviraj Goswami is referring to Mahaprabhu's Vipralamba Lila, where the Mahaprabhu would be in a certain mood, and Rupa Goswami, being in tune, finely in tune with Mahaprabhu's bhav or mood, would supply a verse to suit that mood, to further enhance it. A verse that was in harmony with Mahaprabhu's particular mood at any given time. So Rupa Goswami was so in touch with Mahaprabhu's moods and feelings and tastes, bhav, rasa, that any composition that anyone wrote that wanted to present it to Mahaprabhu, and there were many, people would write something and want to get Mahaprabhu's opinion on it, that would have to go through Rupa Goswami. He was the quality control guy. He was the secretary. It would have to be filtered through him. He would censor it. Because if it was in the wrong flavor, or if there was a incongruence of rasa, sometimes known as rasa bas. Rasa bas means like a hazy conception, or two rasas that are incompatible being mixed together in one verse, in one work, then that would upset, that would disturb Mahaprabhu, whose taste, who is Rasa Raj and Mahabhav. So the very personification of ecstatic emotion, Srimati Radharani, Mahaprabhu is tasting that. So any sour or off, any contamination is felt with high sensitivity. So Swarup Damodar, also being Lalita Shaki in Vrindavan Leela, is in tune with that. And he's protecting Mahaprabhu from any such exposure to a substandard composition.
What was verses that Rupa Goswami would tell Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Where would they come from? You mean they can be from any source?
Well, we'll see. They're Rupa Goswami's verses. He composed them.
They were all only compositions of his.
What verses are you referring to?
You said Rupa Goswami would give shlokas to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right?
No, I said many people would come and try and offer their compositions to Mahaprabhu.
But Rupa Goswami would filter them.
No, Swarup Damodar would.
what you said Rupa Goswami would say in the proper time, what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would need to hear.
Swarup Damodar would do that.
Swarup Damodar. And those shlokas then were of different sources, right?
Yeah. Different sources.
Compositions of contemporary...
Compositions of various people that were familiar with the rasa of Krishna Bhakti, such as various poets, Jayadev Goswami and Chandidas were two of the two sources, and really?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Bilvamangal Thakur. The Krishna Samhita was by Bilvamangal Thakur. That was brought back by Mahaprabhu from South India. So you're saying he brought it back, and they familiarized themselves with those verses and then were quoting them to Mahaprabhu?
I think so, yeah. Krishna Kanamrita.
Krishna Kanamrita.
I think so, yeah. Mahaprabhu would... sorry.
Maybe. It's mentioned that the songs of Chandidas and Jayadev Goswami were used, sung by Mahaprabhu. Bilvamangal Thakur? I don't know. That book, Krishna Kanamrita, came with Mahaprabhu from South India. Mahaprabhu picked it up and brought it back along with the Brahma Samhita. So it's, yeah, not Krishna Samhita. Krishna Samhita was a book written by Thakur Bhaktivinoda. Brahma Samhita and Krishna Kanamrita. So they were new. They were freshly discovered. Whereas the songs of Jayadev Goswami, Chandidas, were older. They'd been in circulation for a long time. So unless the Krishna Samhita had come back, then, you could say, they were also quoting verses from Brahma Samhita. So, do you have a reference for that?
No.
Some homework to do.
Yeah. If you could find a reference, it'd be interesting.
I read it somewhere. Maybe
Yeah, anyway, find the reference. So yeah, Chandidas and Jayadev Goswami, and there is another poet also.
I mean, it was not about reciting verses from scriptures. It's not that. It's compositions of people of his time, of the time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Yeah, or before that time. Vidyapati, that's the other one. Vidyapati, Chandidas, and Jayadev. They were the chief ones. I'm not exactly sure if Bilvamangal Thakur was quoted in this context. You'll have to research that. If you could do it today, it'd be good. Chandidas, Vidyapati, and Jayadev Goswami. They were the chief poets whose compositions were savored by Mahaprabhu. And so it was Swarup Damodar who would supply a verse of a composition of the appropriate theme to Mahaprabhu, and also filter compositions that were presented to Mahaprabhu, so as not to disturb his tasting of rasa. It's like feeding, like a connoisseur. Mahaprabhu is more than a connoisseur of rasa. The Rasa Raja Mahabhava. The king of rasa, Rasa Raja. The king of rasa, Mahabhava. Tasting high emotion. So a connoisseur, if someone is a connoisseur of a particular food item, and someone comes along with that food item, although they may think it's of a high standard, someone with a higher standard won't be at all impressed, may be displeased with a poor quality preparation. So it's a bit like that. Different standards of appreciation of rasa. And Swarup Damodar Goswami would censor those compositions of a standard unacceptable to Mahaprabhu. Only Swarup Damodar knew the purpose for which the Lord recited that verse, according to the Lord's attitude. He used to quote other verses to enable the Lord to relish mallows. So this particular verse in question will be coming up very soon. Rupa Goswami Prabhura Janiya Abhipraya Se Arte Shloka Kaila Prabhure Yebaya. Rupa Goswami, however, could understand the intention of the Lord, and thus he composed another verse that appealed to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Ya Kumara Harasa Eva Hivas Ta Eva Chaitra Kapas Te Kon Milita Malate Surabaya Prodha Kadam Banaliha Sachaivasmi Tatapi Tatra Surata Vyapara Lilavadho Reva Rodhasi Vetasi Tarutale Chetaha Samutkantate. That very personality who stole my heart during my youth is now again my master. These are the same moonlit nights in the month of Chaitra, the same fragrance of malati flowers is there, and the same sweet breezes are blowing from the Kadamba forest. In our intimate relationship, I am also the same lover, yet still my mind is not happy here. I am eager to go back to that place on the bank of the Reva under the Vitashi tree. That is my desire. So that was Mahaprabhu's verse that he would chant in the Ratha Yatra. And no one really knew what that was about, because it wasn't directly about Krishna. This is like a love poem. Like you could almost say it can be interpreted as a mundane love poem. But Mahaprabhu's chanting it. Swarup Damodar understood the meaning. And now at this particular Ratha Yatra, Rupa Goswami also understands the meaning, and he composes a verse in the same vein. Priya so ham Krishna sahachari kurukshetra militas tata ham saradha tad idam ubhayo sangamasukam tatyap yantaha kelan madura murali panchamajuse mano me kalindi pulina vipanaya sprihayati. My dear friend, now I have met my very old and dear friend Krishna on this field of Kurukshetra. I am the same Radharani, and now we are meeting together. It is very pleasant, but I would like to go to the bank of the Yamuna beneath the trees of the forest there. I wish to hear the vibration of his sweet flute playing the fifth note within that forest of Vrindavan. So essentially, Rupa Goswami's verse is not just in the same vein, but is explaining the meaning of Mahaprabhu's verse. It's giving it the exact context, which is the longing of the gopis to have Krishna abandon his Kshatriya regalia and mood and resume the intimate, sweet, madura, sweet mood, unassuming, non-ostentatious mood of Vrindavan. Talapatre shloka leke chalite rakila samudra snana karibare Rupa Goswami gela. After writing this verse on a palm leaf, Rupa Goswami put it somewhere in his thatched roof and went to bathe in the sea. Hena kale Prabhu aila tanhare milite chale sloka deke Prabhu lagila padite. At that time, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went there to meet him, and when he saw the leaf pushed into the roof and saw the verse, he began to read it. Sloka pari Prabhu sukhe prema vishtahaila hena kale Rupa Goswami snana kari aila. After reading the verse, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was overwhelmed by ecstatic love. And at that very time, Rupa Goswami returned, having finished bathing in the sea. So Mahaprabhu has discovered Rupa Goswami's verse, his composition. We'll get to that tomorrow. 83. We're at 83. We'll start from 83 tomorrow. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jai Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gauda Bhakti Vrinda. Reading from Revealed Truth by Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev-Goswami Maharaj. The key to revelation. Devotee. It's a devotee asking a question. Gurudev, what do you expect from me as your disciple? Srila Govinda Maharaj. As possible by you, you always chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra without offense and try to serve Sri Guru Gauranga Kandara Giridhari. If you have the opportunity to serve them, do not waste that. Always remember your spiritual life by practicing the 9 forms of Bhakti Yoga given in Srimad Bhagavatam. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Parasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Shakyam, Atmani Vedanam. Among these, the process of Shravan Kirtan is best. Hear from Guru Vaishnav and chant the glories of Guru Vaishnav, the Lord, and the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Serve your Gurudev and your Shiksha Gurus, the Vaishnavas around you. If you proceed in that way, you must be benefited. Shravan Kirtan Jali Karai Sechana. Shravan Kirtan is the association of the devotees will best nourish us. If we hear and chant the Lord's glories in the association of the sadhus, the illusory environment will not be able to attack us. But we must hear from a proper Vaishnav and chant without making Vaishnava aparad. If we can proceed in that way with good association, the result of our practice will increase 10 times more, or maybe 100 times more. Our practice in devotional life is always under the instruction of Sriman Mahaprabhu and Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Sometimes there is a little difference between Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur and Srila Saraswati Thakur. But Srila Guru Maharaj gave us our method according to Srila Saraswati Thakur's line. We follow that. What method others may follow, I cannot say. But we follow the method given by our Guru Maharaj. Ata Shri Krishna Namadena Bhaved Graham Indriya Sevan Mukhi Jivado Swayameva Swaratyada. Krishna's name, form, qualities and pastimes cannot be grasped by our mundane senses, but they can be revealed to us through our service attitude. In this verse, we find the key to Srila Saraswati Thakur's method, which Srila Guru Maharaj followed, and I am the example and witness to. Example of and witness to. Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur gave us the line that a service attitude, Sevanmukhi, means the service of Guru Vaishnav. His line is that Krishna's divine name and form and so on will be revealed in your heart through the service of Guru and Vaishnav. Many Vaishnavas may read many Shastras and follow many different religious processes in their life, but our line is that nothing is necessary except the life of service to Krishna under the guidance of a proper Guru and Vaishnav. We need only to try to practice Krishna consciousness, heart and soul, under the guidance of a proper Guru or Vaishnav. In that way, we will proceed to our destiny in the plane of dedication beyond the planes of exploitation and renunciation. Serving under the guidance of Guru Vaishnav brings us into that plane of dedication. Sadhyo hrid yavurudyate tra kritibhi Shushrusubhis tat kshanat. Through surrender to Krishna's devotee, gradually all property will come to us. Very easily and very suddenly, all spiritual quality and qualification, which is very rare to achieve, will appear in your heart. Srimad Bhagavatam 10.80.34 says, Guru Shushrushaya Yata. Service to Guru Vaishnava is our line of progress. When we have the proper mood of surrender, then we will engage in the practices of devotion under the guidance of a proper sadhu. Jai Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev-Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Hare Krishna. Jai Vishnu Bhaj Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev-Goswami Maharaj ki jai.
Jai.
Jai Vishnu Bhaj Bhakti Rakab Srila Dev-Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Saranta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada ki jai. Rupa Guru Bharg ki jai. Vishva Varanya Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Samaveda Vaishnav Mandala ki jai. Samaveda Bhakti Vrinda ki jai. Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat ki jai. Chaitanya Saraswat Mat West London ki jai. Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Jai Go.